and then they would discuss the books.
How wonderful to grow up in such a literary household.
It was fabulous.
Now, we talked about that with Access Spotlight, we focus on people in our community. I said you lived in North Hills, but you also grew up in?
I grew up, I started out in Great Neck, on Burberry Lane, in the old village. Then we moved to Arley Road in Kensington. Then we moved to Brookville. And then, because my father passed away, we sold Brookville, and then I moved with my mother to North Hills, and I live at the Estates too now.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Now, how do you know? I mean, you felt that you were doing this for your parents, and you'd made this promise to your mother, but you had an interesting experience.
Right. Well, first, I just want to tell you the reason why all these books did come about. I felt a pull.
Okay.
And I couldn't stop. I was being driven. I never experienced anything like this before.
Amazing.
And I had all these ideas that I never had before. I found all these things that my mother had left, and I would never have known about them, but something was pulling me.
Okay.
The experience that I had, which was so fascinating that I know you're talking about, happened at my place.
Well, you describe it in the book,
yes,
so it's really good.
At my place of business. And there was a customer that I had known throughout the years, and he was such a wonderful person. He is now, he's one of my closest friends.
Oh, wow.
And he knew that Immortal Kisses had just come out, and he wanted a copy. And so he came in, and he said to me, okay, where's the book? And I was sitting at my desk, and he put a $20 bill down at the desk, and he said, keep the change, I want the book. So I said, oh, terrific. So I got the book out, I signed it, and he looked at the book, and he said, he looked at the back, and he said, my goodness, he says, your mother is gorgeous. I said, thank you. He opened the book, he saw the picture of my father, and he was looking at it, and he said, you know, your father seems to be a very happy man. Someone who was always happy in his smile. I said, he was. And he said, he seems like he had a good sense of humor. I said, yes. And then he looked at me and he said to me, you know, your parents are right here with me.
Oh, my.
And I said,
oh, my.
Oh, I didn't know what to think. And he said, no, he said, they're right here. And I said, oh. And then he said to me, you know, my ears are ringing. And I said to him, you know, I said, I have tinnitus also. I still didn't get it.
Okay.
And he said to me, no. And then all of a sudden, he started like going into a trance and like shaking. And I said, my goodness, I said, what's happening? And he said to me, you don't understand. He said, your parents are coming through me. He says, and they have messages for you. I said, are you?
He's a medium.
I said, are you a psychic?
Yeah, you didn't know that.
I didn't know. And he said, yes. And then all of a sudden, he calmed down, and then he described my parents to him. He had never seen my parents before, and he described them just the way they looked, the way they walked. He even described the way they walked in, and that's how they always walked. He told me what my father said. He told me what my mother said. And he also told me how thrilled they were and are that I have done this.
Now, this incident happened, and then you continued with the books, and What is Love?
Yes.
What is Love?
And
which, by the way,
yes,
I really enjoyed it. It's the biography that you wrote about them, but it really brings all these other books of poetry together.
Yes.
To understand what, and we only touched on a few things, but the things your parents went through to have this love, to be together, was extraordinary.
Yes.
And it was wonderful that your mother could express so much of this in poetry.
It was incredible. And I never realized how brilliant she was until she was gone. And that, I think that always happens. I just took it for granted. And I took it for granted with my father also. And it all came together.
Children take that for granted.
They do.
Yes, yeah.
And it all came together with these books.
How nice. Now, where can people buy these books?
On Amazon, Amazon.com.
Okay, very
Okay.
good. They're really quite good, and it's a shame we don't have more beautiful books of love and poetry,
Yes.
and you're doing that for us. Now, what has happened? How have these books been recognized, the recognition they're
Well,
getting?
I was very excited because this year, my mother's high school, Richmond Hill High School,
Okay.
recognized my mother and myself with regard to all her efforts and her writing. And what they did was they took all her books on now for their summer reading, for their book
Great.
club, and they're
Great.
going to incorporate them into their curriculum for the fall. And I was so excited.
It's very exciting, and for the students to know that this was somebody that went to their
Yes.
school. What a
They were
connection.
thrilled. And my mother saved all these artifacts from Richmond Hill High School. And what I did was I gave them to them, and they digitized everything. And now she's in their school forever and ever.
Oh.
And I'm so excited.
That is very exciting.
And I did the same with her junior high, PS 101.
It's nice because
Yes.
today the young people are really not reading as
No.
much as they should, and especially not poetry, but this
No.
is such a great motivator for them.
And you don't hear stories like this.
No.
You don't. And really, the message is love. It's unconditional love. And if you have love, then everything else will fall into place.
Well, Pauli, our time is going here. Do you have
Oh.
one more? Can you share one more
Well,
poem
one more poem.
or just something else?
Well, my mother wrote a beautiful poem in commemoration of her 60 years of marriage with my father. I thought
Sounds
maybe
a
I would.
good way to end. Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
And she titled it In Memory of an April Breeze. David, thank you for 60 glorious years of marriage. Destiny put us together when we met by the beautiful sea. We believed in the unbelievable, and in a moment of madness, we wed. Like Su Yin and Mark, we found a love that was indeed a many-splendored thing. Good night, sweet prince, and thank you for the moon.
Oh,
Now, just so I can, it's gorgeous. The characters that she writes about, Su Yin and Mark,
Right.
they were the main characters in the movie, Love is a Many Splendid Thing.
right.
So
Beautiful.
it's gorgeous.
Pauli, I can't thank you enough for coming by.
Oh, you're welcome.
And for visiting us. Now, 2 more books in the works?
2 more books. One is coming out in the fall. It's called My Mother and Shakespeare, A Daughter's Journey. And then there's going to be another one coming out in the spring that I'm working on, and it's called Messages of Love Remembered.
Now, do you happen to have a Facebook page, or
Well-
how can people get in touch when these books come out? Other than you coming back and
right.
talking about it.
Well, I had set up a Facebook page for my mother. So you have to click on, I guess, Mitzi Libsohn, Immortal Kisses.
Okay.
And then you'll get all the information.
Terrific, terrific. Well,
Okay.
thank you for coming. You
Oh,
will
you're
come
welcome.
back?
I will. I will, definitely.
It's a pleasure. I'm
I
just
know.
enjoying this conversation and
It went
kind of
so
running out of
fast.
time. I just want to thank our viewers for tuning in to Public Access TV, and for you to also check our Facebook page and website to see what programs and projects we have on Public Access TV. Thank you.